I want to talk about the mind, art, and belief. Also a bit the question of religion and spirituality, but it's more really about belief, because it's basically the same, whether you pursue it in the worldly realm or move to other levels of consciousness. It has to do with routine, it has to do with repetition, it has to do with alignment and all of that, and a lot with mind and conscious, subconscious, and unconscious. So I want to talk about these things a bit. Because I was asking myself for a very, very, very long time now, who is God? What is God? What is this? Who is this? Where is this? And how is this? And I started all these questions with the question of identity. So that was my first approach artistically to research how people define themselves, how people describe themselves, in what categories we describe ourselves. And then I did something with a lot of people, which was peeling tomatoes. So I gave people tomatoes and I asked them, could you tell me something about yourself while you peel this tomato? And the tomato was just some symbol that for me was emotionally charged a bit for some reason, but I don't even know exactly why. Because I might have taken any other fruit or an apple, but I chose the tomato. And I went to a place where they did rituals with like really brutal rituals where they replaced stones with tomatoes to make the ritual stay, which it was the tomatina or chipo de gato in Tarazona, tomatina in Buñol, and in Spain, where they used tomatoes to replace a ritual in which stones were thrown at people. And I like that they used tomatoes because they had enough. It was an agricultural product that they had plenty of at the time of the festivity. So they just used that. And it made the thing more humane. It made an ancient ritual more humane and actually fun for people to do. But they could keep the tradition. And that's something that I really like about culture, and it has a lot to do with belief and identity, that in our understanding of identity we also practice certain rituals, and to keep a belief we have to have this element of repetition of these practices. And so I like that they did that, and after that I started to let people peel the tomatoes and make tomato sauce with it. And people told me all kinds of things. I made a whole film about this. And then it also is a bit connected to passion for me. So I did a film about this and interrupted the film with a performance where people were given a tomato and asked to throw this tomato at me. And then I wanted to test basically if they just repeated what they have previously seen on screen, or if they used their own mind and values and questioned the situation. Do I really want to do this? Do I want to hit her, or do I want to throw it away from her to just escape the task a bit? Or some people gave me the tomato. Someone really who didn't know me at all just really hit me in my face, which was really hurtful. And then also my own reaction to it was interesting, because I was very surprised when people didn't throw and actually just approached me, gave it to my hands or laid it down in front of me. And it was like something I do in life a lot is I love to evoke spark in people. I love to set people on fire, not in a mean way. I don't actually set people on fire. But I like to light the fire within people's souls, and that's something connected to creative practice. And I love to do that. I love to see people shine from when they do something they really love. I love to see people light up from being connected to their dreams and what is important for them, and believing in their ideas. So I absolutely love that. And I always compare this to, I give people tomatoes and then I see what they do with it. And it has different forms in life. And once I have experienced, after all these questioning of identity and then understanding, I want to give people some element of passion and see what they do with this inner flame. I've experienced something that Eminem sings about in his song. The soul escaping a new world order making. I found this very interesting. I loved this when I was a child. I loved Eminem, and I think Eminem is very philosophical, and really, I really like his songs and his music. And the soul's escaping is something that has happened to me, or my soul did it. Actually, my soul did it. So I experienced when my body is under a lot of pressure and in a lot of resistance. Like, I really didn't like the situation in which I was. I really was in rejection, not like in flow when you're like, oh, I discovered this out of curiosity, I discovered this. Like, that's a flow state that I examined for many, many years. I discovered this, and to everything I'm opening, and more is opening. But in this situation, I was my whole body was contracting. I was in a lot of physical pain and really rejecting the current situation, really like in complete resistance to what is happening in this moment. I really just couldn't, like, my system was exploding in some way. So I left my body, and I never believed that this is possible, but I could see my body react. I could really, like, without any attachment of judgment of good or bad, or without any feeling that felt close to me. It's like as if you have a feeling, and the feeling doesn't feel like it's yours, but you know the feeling is there. So it was like almost a very, very meditative state of being. And I did meditate a lot at the time. Like a very meditative state of being, that you can observe your body having a feeling from afar, but not having the feeling as connected to your identity. And I think that is when I discovered my soul for the first time. I think I discovered it previously in plenty of flow moments as well. But in this moment, it was like my soul and my body were two different entities suddenly. And that's not good. Like, you want to be one. That led to complete fragmentation. And I had fragmenting moments before, but this was a complete detachment from the observer. Like, the observer is still the mind, but it was together. Like, the observer was with my understanding of identity, and also like everything that feels close to me, detached from my body having an experience. Completely detached. And after that, I looked myself in the mirror, and I saw that I was dead. I didn't recognize my own face anymore. I looked at my face and I saw my eyes. I saw that there were some rings under my eyes. I saw my face or my mouth, and I just looked at her, and I identify with her anymore. And I was, previous to this experience, plenty of times painting self-portraits, because I was dissociating a lot and I never realized that I was doing this. I didn't know what dissociation was, even at that time. But it's basically the soul escaping, as I explain it. It's my explanation. When you dissociate, for me, it's the soul escaping from a situation it cannot cope with. Like something in your identity, in your being, in your truth says, this is not right for me. And so I saw my body as something that I can shape. And from that point on, despite I had previously known about meditation and how positive affirmations and words can shape your experience of life, so I've always done that. But in this moment, it was like a complete detachment, and seeing as if everything about me could be something that I just give a direction to. Like I can give a direction and then this entity that is my body does it. And I've lived like this for quite a while. And it was very difficult because I didn't have the ability to speak up for myself. I didn't have the ability to explain to people what I would like or not like. This was not a question for me anymore. I had sometimes memory loss, but I also didn't understand that I previously already had, from dissociating experiences, memory loss. But then it was quite a long time in which I was just not connected, and I gave myself command of how I want to do things and what I want to explore. And it really, really worked. I just told myself, do this, and I did it. And that was interesting, but I also felt like a robot. And then I started to learn about, okay, the question of identity and how is it related to narratives that we have or stories. And I previously already started with this, who am I? That question has always been interesting to ask in myself and in others. I always interviewed people a lot and listened to people, how they explain the world and how they experience their lives. And then, of course, the creation of reality. And that's something that I didn't understand at the time, that our soul is not necessarily creating our reality. And I want to repeat that, because I used to believe that, of course, your reality is formed around what's your soul's purpose. But that is not necessarily true if you don't take an active part in this. It's really I experience that it's really my task to create this from that time on, to create narratives that are aligned with my soul, to look for this flow again and this alignment. Because what I could do is tell myself any story and fully believe it, and tell myself any story and just do it without any mu or meh. And it has led me to have physical symptoms. So burnout symptoms. I didn't question how many hours I was working. I didn't question if I can cope with experience as well. I escaped and didn't understand why I escaped situations that I could have just said, I like this or I do not like this so well. I don't know. And then I also became really, really bitchy, like judgmental, and all, like so much shit came up in me. And I started to look for, why am I still so much in resistance, and why is this possible that I can command myself? And I started to understand that people do reflect to me things that I am thinking. And I started to see more and more synchronicities of when I'm unloving to myself, people in the outside world are unloving to me. The more I stressed myself, the more others were stressed. I could suddenly see all the pattern in my life when I was stressed, when I was putting pressure on myself, when I tried to fulfill expectations, when I was not giving to myself. I could suddenly see how other people always give me this. Like, I do not like myself, others also don't like me. I really love myself, others love me too. And it didn't even change what I did. The action itself didn't change. When I loved myself, others said yes, no matter what I did. And then I had one experience where I wanted to see someone that I really loved, and I said, I want to go and see you, but it was during the pandemic, and I was kind of blind because I really wanted to see him, but I should have checked in more details if it's possible, and then I made it through a first border control, but then I said, then I became nervous, and I said, will I make it through the second? And then I felt this is how I messed it up, because before I just got everything I wanted because I was in alignment and just put my mind to something and said, okay, and this is what I want, and I go with all my feelings for this as well, and I just make this choice, and this is how it is. And then I realized how severe the impact of doubt is on your reality, because the second that I started to doubt, people from the outside were not letting me do whatever I wanted to do. And I really, from that time on, my doubt was very heavy. I developed this huge pain body. I think it's what Eckhart Tolle describes as the pain body. And I actually have created an animal for it now, but I went through a long time of tears. I wanted to die. I wanted to die plenty of times, and it's partly because of stories that I was told when I was a child, but it's also surely partly because I really couldn't cope with having symptoms. I felt stressed. I felt I can never calm down. My ears were ringing. I didn't feel happiness in things that I did, other than when I really pushed myself to the extremes, like when I was really cold or really in warm temperature or really cold temperature, or in a very stressful situation that I had no idea what's going to happen next, and then I really was feeling alive, and only then I was feeling alive, and I don't know. And then I experienced a couple of times what is probably called the borderline syndrome. And it's funny because a psychologist might say it's a self-destructive mechanism, but the way how I see it as someone having it, I really want to explain it in this context, because when I become self-destructive, I feel caught up in a situation. I feel I have no capacity to escape. I don't see my way out. I feel I cannot express myself freely. And it has something to do with spirituality, because self-destruction and borderline always came up in me when I saw some entity taking from my energy. And that could be digitally, or in real life, a person standing in front of me. But it could also be a draining situation, a draining relationship. It could also be a topic that I worried about, or a real person standing in front of me. So just this entity that was taking energy from me not letting me be just in my being. And because there is so much God in the present moment, there is so much life source, godly alignment if you are just as you are somewhere, without your mind going in the future, without your mind going in the past, just where you are right here, right now. Feeling your body as you are right here, right now. Being with your thoughts where you are right here, right now. Like, this is so much of alignment with your soul's purpose, with who you are, with your godly purpose, and that there is really an opening in just this present moment that also Eckhart Tolle describes quite a lot. But with our identity, sometimes we experience a reality that is not comfortable for our identity. So I started developing this artist name, The Shapeless Motion, because it made my life experience more easy. I had so many experiences in which my pain body were active, in which I was not able to cope anymore with my life experiences in connection to the identity that I was raised with, or the identity that I had taken over during my studies, my upbringing. Maybe it's from the travels, but I wouldn't want to go back because I loved what I learned. It's just that my identity couldn't cope with my actual life experience anymore. And this activated the pain body in me. And I think it's identity which also gives a lot of future thinking or past attachment, because it's what I identify with. But identity in itself is nothing that's attached. My soul and my identity as a person doesn't need to attach to an outcome of a situation. It doesn't need to attach to a product that I have or do not have. It doesn't need to attach to relationships that I have or do not have. It doesn't need to attach to degrees that I have or do not have, or goals that I reach or do not reach. But this was really hard for me to let go of this. And at the same time, I had more and more experiences in which I really tried to direct myself completely, like direct my body, direct my mind. But this was such a challenge. And this direction was broken apart by trauma coming up. So attachments of past experiences that were so clinging to me, really, really clinging, that they put me in a spiral of either complete laughter, like laughing about it until I felt a huge high, or going very, very low. But it was like this, when I had an attachment, it was like a spiral starting, going very high in my mood or going very, very low. And in the lower realms, I experienced Zazus. I have a dog, so this. In the lower realms, I experienced my animal soul. I experienced a lot of lust, anger. I wrote a song that's called like, My Pain Body Just Wants to Fuck. I experienced lust, I experienced pain, tears, anger, incredible visions of anger, sadness, deep, deep, deep sadness, despair, hatred. I did experience a lot of hatred, but when I say hatred, it already dissolves. I really... but I did experience also hatred, and what helped me is to just name these things. So when I had these animal soul experiences, I just named them. oh, this is hatred. And I wrote so much. I wrote so much. I tried to make everything good and to release. I apologized a million times, but I had so intense highs and lows. And constant experiences of being put back with object situations into a past attachment. And I just wanted to break free from these attachments. I really wanted to break free from these attachments because I wanted to direct. I wanted to direct myself. I wanted to tell myself, do this and not that. I wanted to let go of lust and say, like, I don't want this anymore because I had a painful experience and difficulties with it. So I just said in my mind, no, I don't want this anymore. I go another way. I just know. And this was very hard for me to detach from this. And I needed grounding. I needed to learn how to reconnect with my body, to feel my body actually. But the problem is, there is this book by Wessel van der Broek, I think. It's called like The Body Keeps the Score is the title of the book. And it's, the thing is, when I did grounding, when I refocused on my body, and this is an entity of my life experience, the attachments were active again. And right now I'm just thinking about, there are these 5 levels of the soul, and I think the first is actually the body. So I went back down actually, because I didn't feel much of my body anymore. I don't know if it's good or bad, but I just felt more healthy. So I went back down into my body and I felt like I need to ground because this is becoming really unhealthy. Like, I was over 30, I couldn't have gone to the Club 27 where artists are so much in their soul they die before 30 with all kinds of addictives. But it's basically, I felt really like I would do anything, and just my soul was active. I didn't feel my body. I felt creation was flowing through me without any control, me floating in this. And then I did go to dance school, and I went probably to a lower level of the soul again, I don't know. But I actually believe if you want to have your soul, you need to have all levels active, like be connected to your soul. I don't think you should lose the lower levels to be living in your soul's purpose. I think you should have all levels active. So it just felt intuitively better to also take care of my physicality and ground in my body. And so I went to dance school and I work with movements, and then also at home, and I accessed a lot of pain also through movement and my physical experience. And then the mind became active again. And all this time I was like, no, I want to direct you still. Why is this gone now? Because it left me. The capacity to direct myself has left me. And I kept listening to affirmations. And I knew how much stories and narratives create our reality. And I had so many synchronicities. But every time I experienced a synchronicity, and I had so many, every day I attracted what I had on my mind again. And sometimes it took a while, but it was like the exact scene I had put together on paper. I create with Imagine this, like collages. And I had the exact scenes or exact visions that I had on my mind. I saw, and I could not enter one of these realities because I was so much full of doubt. And I just felt all the time like trying to cross a border and having 2 guards there. The first says, "Do you believe?" And I said, "Yes, I do." And then the second says, "Do you really believe?" And I said, "Oh, damn it. Oh, there is something." And this is something I worked on with Imagine so hard, to release blockages from past trauma or from limiting belief, to reformulate limiting beliefs. Because I felt all the time, for year after year after year, I felt I want to go somewhere. Doesn't matter where now. It's not relevant. It could have been any border. But I want to go somewhere. And I believe in myself. But there was something always that said, no, 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 no. And I was like, the first time, yeah, okay, I can do it. And then crumbling again. Doubt. No. No access denied. So all of my goals, and I used to set deadlines for projects. I used to set limits, time limits, and none of this worked. But what happened, I became so aligned with natural rhythms and completely starting to feel how much my environment impacts me. And I went one level deeper, understanding the creation of reality not merely from my own narrative, not merely from me being the director of my thoughts and deciding, but I suddenly started to feel how strongly I'm impacted by what everybody else also directs towards me. And there is this experiment where we say, when you speak to a glass of water in swearing words, and when you speak to, you don't even have to speak to these glasses, but you just have to put the words there, that you put negative connotation, like words with a negative connotation, the words to this glass of water, and then positive or loving words to another. One of them is rotting and molding, and the other one is becoming like really flourish, like tasty, and stays fresh for a very long time. And I felt that on my own body and on my own life experience. I felt how I can do all the affirmations I want if my environment doesn't take me serious, if I meet people who love about me, if I am with people who talk to me like I'm worth not so much, or use swearing words. And that's something my own mind was so strongly attached to. The spiral, like I pursued a dream, and then whoop, some swearing words or negative phrases came up, criticism, the inner critic, which was not only inner, like my inner critic, but this is a voice that is informed from experiences where we are not loved in the outside world. And then we develop this inner critic, which says, you can't do this, you can't do this. So with this entity, I was having huge fights. And the inner critic weighed me down heavily, again and again and again. And the stronger my inner critic became, the more I could feel myself basically molding. And the scary part about this is that I sometimes ask myself, did I predict this? I have written many years ago, randomly, dreams in a booklet. And it was almost like these dreams had manifested. As if I had predicted being this glass of water, and our body is 80% water, being this one vessel filled with water that starts to mold. And I experienced this from the outside. I felt people do not take me serious. My own friends laughed about me or called me words or criticized me in ways that I'm like, And then I tried to be strong within myself, but we are not an island. We are just not. And as much as we want to, we are not an island. As a human being, we are connected. And if anybody has experimented with psychedelics or meditation, metta meditation, for example, does that. Metta meditation connects you with, like it's meditation, you're connected. We are all connected with one, the same levels of consciousness, and some of them you can access depending on the practice, and then there are some substances that make you access different layers, I also feel. But I was very used to having experiences for many, many years where I went around in the world and I had something on my mind, and people who were on drugs or who had, I feel like, a very open mind, they just felt what was going on in my mind. And I know that in a lot of spiritual talks, people say it's the lower vibrations. But it's not that. I think, of course, people who meditate and access this level of consciousness in a higher vibration, but I also met those. So I had both experiences, actually. And I just feel that if we open our consciousness, we really feel each other, and we can make our manifestations, like manifesting works immediately with people who have these loving frequencies. And that's also sometimes with people on drugs. At least I experienced that, because I had loving frequency in my vision completely. And then it was not, in the real life experience, not loving anymore. But it's really interesting how we feel this about another with different levels of consciousness. And I definitely prefer meditation, prayer, and visualization methods, because it comes without an aftermath. You don't have any negative effect on your health. You just improve your understanding of yourself and your connection with the world, and it's a beautiful experience. But it also comes with, at least for me, it came probably related to my travels, with a detachment from what I thought my identity was and the narrative that I grew up with. So I had all these traumas coming up over and over again, and I said I want to do things, and even if I had set my mind to it, it just felt over the years it became worse and worse, honestly. I had set my mind to something that I really wanted to do, and I really felt from pure alignment and love and commitment, I want to take on this project, I want to work with these people, I will love this experience. And I said yes, and then I went outside, something happened, and I was completely weighed down by thoughts, by my mind, if sometimes I managed to calm down my thoughts, and then whoop, suddenly a physical symptom came up and I had really heavy pain. Then I was like, no, try. And often I actually did manage to change the direction of my thought. I experienced pain, and then I tried to observe what is the thought coming up with this pain experience. And I changed the direction. So it was being on a crossroads, on the crossroads to Tracy Chapman's standing on the crossroads to hell. I look to the left, I look to the right. So where to go? And you can do that with your thoughts. And the problem is when you direct your thought in the direction of your pain. So when you just think pain, the pain gets worse. When you flood it with love, and that's basically acceptance of what is. So if you look at it just as it is, and you say, okay, where do I feel it? Oh, I embrace this. I love it. Not in the sense like I love pain, but in the sense that I accept it as it is. I put love there. Like I intentionally directed a feeling of warmth or a bright light or something, and then it dissolves. or just to say, okay, this is the thought and that's also loving. But if you can also add some bright light or some warmth, that was like shoo, and it dissolved. And sometimes I was even like having a cold or sick, and then it went away just with or a headache or back pain, just redirecting my thoughts, and the pain disappeared. Wonderful capacity. It doesn't always work, because sometimes I was like, I want to do this project. Didn't let me go through the second boundary. I always felt like I'm stuck in this experience of knowing there is one where I'm asked, do you like what you do? Are you fully with this? And then there is a second boundary where I'm like, oh no, maybe not. And the doubt kicked me back. So, alignment. And that's super, super, super important. What is alignment and flow? And it has a lot to do with creativity and openness to receive. Yes, this is not a state of being. That is a state of course, you're always also giving. But creativity really has to do with receiving. And flow really, really has to do with receiving. And alignment really, really has to do with receiving. And it doesn't make you a bad person to receive. Receiving is when you are living in your soul. Receiving is when you are aligning your identity, the mind's understanding, with the way how you co-create with life. So, how do you react to your circumstances? What do you think about your circumstances? And which feelings do come up in relation to your circumstances? And which physical reactions do you have when all of this is in a receiving? It's natural. It's nature, it's flow, it's receiving, it's openness, it's letting things come to you, it's creativity, because you do not judge. So in this alignment, flow, creativity, openness, in a way, okay, I'm saying something brave now, but to me, this is an almost religious experience of life. And I see art really as a form of prayer for a world in which our minds are often directed by advertising, political decision-making, or cultural narratives in which we started to differentiate between right and wrong. And art is for me this beautiful form of prayer, modern prayer, in which you are not just using your words, but it's a form of prayer that it's a prayer with images, it's a prayer with sound, it's a prayer with situation, if you are acting, it's a prayer with emotions, and all of that does exist in prayer. But I just feel art accesses a lot of levels. And it has this, you align your mind with feelings in your body. You have to, for accessing this, you have to have a safe environment. You have to have it's a bit ridiculous to say, because art is always out of the box. But you have to have a frame for it. You have to have an environment that is supportive. Like people believing in you. Csikszentmihalyi has written this beautiful, like a couple of beautiful books about creativity and flow experience. And I wrote about gamification, and I researched in my bachelor's a lot of how our mind operates in combination with what motivates us, and happiness has always been a research topic of me as well. And of course our narratives and how all of this goes together. So in a flow experience, you have to have a supportive environment. You have to have an environment where you are free to express, so you don't need to fear any punishment or something. And that's what, so basically you need a safe frame to go out of the box. So you need the box to get out of the box. Because unless you are very, very, very strong in your mind, and then you're basically always out in the ocean, you're always flowing out in the ocean, not knowing, and completely, when you're in complete alignment. And that's also, I feel, when we are really connected with our soul, we don't need to understand. We don't need to categorize, we don't need to judge, we are just in this trusting, faith state of unknowing, but certainty and direction and embrace. So openness and embrace and vibrationally higher states of being are necessary for this. We cannot, so if, how do I connect this now? Trying to build a bridge. So if you are in a loving frequency, you receive different information and different physical activities in your body are activated. I think the immune system reacts differently. So in loving vibration, I think your immune system works better than if it's in lower vibrational, and that's levels, frequencies. So if you are having negative thoughts, that puts you in a low vibration and your immune system is not so good, for example. And that's often when we start to become judgmental, try to hold on to things, people, experiences, and that's the trauma responses. That's when we are stuck in trying to hold on to things. That's when we are triggered by something and down spiral. But yes, I always experienced very, very interestingly, and I'm not sure if it's because of my mind has been so much trained to solution thinking, creativity, and positive mindset. I've really trained this for years. That when I have heavy cry attacks and I observe myself going very, very low, and then suddenly, swoop, I attach to something that's giving me a good feeling. Like my system searches for the good. It's like I'm in a very deep down in the ocean, and then my system searches for, whoops, there is a light, or there is something, there is still a fish. I can grab this, and then swoop, it takes me up again. And then I start to giggle. I don't take anything serious. I'm never sure if that's a good alignment with my soul, actually, when I dig into the trauma and then when I go very high up, because it really feels like in this states of being, I'm losing the attachments at the same time. Like when I dare to go there and when I go up and down, I'm losing the attachments also. But it's not recommended to do without a therapist. I personally prefer to do this without a therapist because I know my mind very well and I know my body very well, and I know how I need a combination of body and mind work. And I know also by now how to deal with, I go to a certain place. I've researched a lot on this, and to break a trauma response is also a combination of image, story, and reaction, emotional and physical. And in all of these points, you can break the trauma reaction. So I have a trauma response, I have a visual image or something. And then maybe it's heavy, then the thoughts, when I'm identified with my thoughts, they run me. Or I can, when it's not so heavy, I can say no thought. I just observe this, but no thought. You don't judge this in any right or wrong, or you don't do anything about it. You just let it be. Or if my thought is connected to an image or word, thought is word, but if my thought is connected also to an image, I can still say I take care of myself physically, so I soothe myself. A friend of mine used to advise me that I should take a cold shower when I am in this, but it just made things worse actually. So I experienced it more helpful and healing when I have a trauma response. So I have a thought, I have an image coming up, I have a physical reaction and an emotional reaction, that I do something that's physically soothing to me, hugging myself, taking a warm shower, making a towel wet and putting it with warm water, a towel with warm water on my face, using a smell that's calming. Lavender is great for that. And it breaks the response. It breaks the stress response. And so you can do it on a physical level. If you have someone to hug you, that's great. That you trust, of course. Or hold your hand, or just something that's soothing for you. Then emotional response. So even if I say physically, I'm in heavy pain and I cannot. So I had one time a trauma response which was image, thought, and I couldn't break this connection apart. So it was image, thought. Next thing that came was my body freezing, and my emotions and frequency going very, very low, and I couldn't move anymore. So I couldn't move from one room to the other properly, and my body was so stuck that how did I got to the point where I wanted to by visualization. So I did not try. I put the image because I said I need to get to the other room, but I couldn't move my body. My emotions were very low and I couldn't change either of these entities. I couldn't change my thoughts, but I could change the vision in this case, and I visualized myself reaching the other room. But then in the other room I broke down and I couldn't move and at all. And then I had an auto response of my body, which was super heavy. And the only thing that happened was release. So to just letting it be also. I didn't always access the solution in this chain of reactions that I said, I can put another image. I did. I could manage it to the other room, but then I couldn't move anymore. Maybe because I lacked the vision to what is the next. But I couldn't change my emotional state. So sometimes you cannot, I don't know yet how this is related, but sometimes you can change a vision, sometimes you can change a thought, sometimes you can change an emotion, sometimes you can change a physical state of being. But it was not always possible to break apart all of them for me and then get out of this trauma response. So then the solution was just to let it be. I just had to surrender to the situation. And because I was in a physically safe space, I did not leave my body. I was in a physically safe space. I could just release and land back in my body, let it have the reactions it had, cry it out, I started to shake or strange reactions, but I just let it be and tried as much as possible not to judge myself. So yeah, that was again trauma processing, not reaching alignment. But actually we already went to another point: alignment and flow and creativity, opening. So from a trauma response, from a blockage, from a limiting belief, you cannot reach openness, because a limiting belief lets you go only so far as you know already. A trauma response takes you back to a state of being which has actually caused you pain, and it's not related to creativity at all. And a blockage is the same. You cannot go further than what you know. And what you need to go further than what you know is something that's alignment, flow, creativity, and openness. Non-judgmental reactions in your body, physically, in vision. Like if you have, I talk about visions because I have that sometimes, but it's not I don't hallucinate. That's a different thing, I feel. It's like an image pops up. And I have this since I trained. I did a course on active imagination, and it's when you examine. So it's from Carl Gustav Jung, who introduced shadow work and the concept of the mind divided in conscious, subconscious, and unconscious, and the unconscious in an individual and collective unconscious. So that's how I understood it. And in shadow work, you try to access the parts that you didn't see before. So you work with images to try to understand a situation. Which image does it bring up? And then what does it tell you about this situation? What does it teach you more about a more whole experience of this? So you try to see it from a bit of different angles. Anyway, this needs a next talk. But back to alignment, flow, creativity, and openness. I feel a good way to access this is through positive personal experiences. So what happened to me when I was down spiraling in a negative thought, negative feeling, or pain experience, after I have trained myself for months with, and by now years, with positive affirmations, I down spiral, but then there is this boop that takes me up again, and I start to laugh actually, and it's usually a personal memory which was very good that takes me up again. It's a person that I trust and love. It's some taste I like. Usually for me, I work with situations. I also learn in situations, but it's something that's, like physical soothing usually reaches relief, releasing emotions, and then a relief from pressure, stress, but to really go in a higher alignment and openness, it was for me always connected to positive personal memories, things that I liked, or experiences I had with people that I liked. But then again, I manifested so well that I manifested situations with people that I haven't known so well, that I had experienced previously with people that I knew well, and then it scared me, so that led to further blockages actually in that realm. But in general, you can say that if you take your mind back to a positive experience you already had your mood goes up, you access flow, creativity, and openness for more positive experiences. So a practice that is very helpful for this is at the end of your day, writing a journal and not looking at the things that didn't work out, because that's the trauma processing, fault finding. You can also look at things that didn't work out with a loving mind, like say, I had an issue and then how did I resolve it? But never stay in, I had this issue. Always say, did you react to it and how did it resolve? So it has to have this element of drama. That's why stories are so healing, because they always have this arc that it leads to a resolution. So if you have some struggle, you have to build in your, I'm grateful for this, I have experienced this and this. If you want to access flow in the long run, you have to build the arc in your experience to how did I resolve it, what did I learn from it, is a very helpful one. Okay, so let's name a few. What did I learn from it? How did the issue resolve? How did my experience expand from this? What did I understand about the world because of this happening that I didn't know before? It's related to what did I learn? Did I gain a new skill from this? Did I discover something about myself that I liked, that I didn't know before that I can do? Like, did I access a new superpower? And all of, like, if you find something that builds an arc of resolving the issue, that already gets you into flow, creativity, openness, and alignment. So if you write a journal about your day, look at all the things that made you feel good, that you found amazing, and if you found the other things, then try to find, don't deny them, but try to see, like, okay, how could you grow from this? What did it teach you? What did you learn? And what did it show you about yourself and the world? How did it enrich your experience of life? And then there is a very, very nice, I think it's something religious actually. I started doing it out of a bit desperation, and then shortly after, a friend has also reminded me, are you doing this gratitude practice? In the morning, to the first thing in the morning, say things that you love about yourself, love about your life, love about your environment. So I listened to hours of Louise Hay, positive affirmations, and she says what you should do the first thing in the morning is go to the mirror and state your affirmations. I love myself, I fully accept myself as I am. And what I also did sometimes is, because I struggled with my living space, so despite I did my affirmations of myself, and then I loved myself, but my space around me looked like a mess. So I realized, it's not enough if I just do this within. You always say as within, so without, but if you don't look at the without, you don't see it. So I just looked within and I forgot a bit about my without in this spiritual journey. So I also started to say, like, wow, I'm so grateful for this extremely comfortable bed. And with gratitude, you invite the universe to give you more of it. You also train your mind. So when I wake up now, the first thing that comes to my mind is, I love you. I just listen to myself. I listen to my thoughts basically all the time. I have so much detached that I listen to my thoughts. I am not my thoughts, never. Unless I decide to align the elements of my being. But I am never my thoughts, never. I always look at them with some element of humor, actually, a little bit. Which then I complain about when it reflects in the world. So I do try to take this very serious. But I listen to, so when I wake up, I hear this, Oh, I love your life. I love you so much. Oh, you are so sweet. I love you. Like, really beautiful compliments. And you have a beautiful body, and I love you. And you have a very smart mind, and this is such a comfortable bed. How beautiful is it to wake up on this day, and you have so many opportunities today. And the funny thing is, I don't even do much, but I'm happy. Because I'm very broke at the moment. So the next thing I need to repair is going further out and repair also my the public aspects about this. But in my privacy, at least my inner world is repaired. I'm starting to get back my home space to access this again. And then also my public image or responses. It's not about the image as much as it's about the responses. And I feel the vibration that comes back to me. I feel it when I go outside and people respond to me from judging me. Like, the glass that is molding for a reason. And it is molding not because the water is bad. It's molding because of the outside world that's putting intention on it. But gladly, we all have free will, and we all have a mind that can do the inner work. So we can all protect ourselves from that, and we can stand up for ourselves, we can defend ourselves. You can even protect yourself from all kinds of psychic attacks. So, for example, sometimes I have this, when I was swearing about someone, and in a bit of a delay, I felt like, ooh, what's happening? Why am I having this strange pins on my body or things that hurt? And I was like, I don't know. I heard once that you can do black magic or psychic attacks, and then it really weighs you down. And I don't know if it's just belief, but it doesn't matter. It helped me to say, I'm protected. There is really nothing that can take from my energy. I am safe. I fully stand in my light. There is nothing that can weigh me down anymore. And I'm just firmly, and as I have these thoughts, I already feel a relief. As I have this, like, I'm healthy, I love myself, I fully accept myself as I am, I'm healthy, I love my life, I give my best every day, and I love the opportunities that I see ahead of me, and all of this, and then pain dissolves. I open my mind to seeing solutions rather than problems. And that's something that I could really observe I always had it as a child already, that I grew up with, as much as I love my father, he was very much into politics and also stating why different laws or politics or situations stop you from doing something. And this was the biggest breakthrough in my entire life, to pursue my studies and do my research, both from partners, family members, and honestly also a little bit friends, to break through their limiting beliefs. Because the criticism that I have experienced, not necessarily criticism, but people live in their belief realm. So the world that you are living in is a construct of your mind, body, soul, entity. And you can expand that massively. And you can really become abundant. And have experiences that you don't think before that you can have even. Like, you can learn about something that someone does, and then you can also do it just because you know that it's possible, for example. Or you can have a positive experience, someone can show you and take you on a positive experience, and based on this, like trauma, you have a negative experience, and then you can recreate it. This you can do with a positive experience as well. You have a positive experience, and you will automatically, first of all, recreate it in the future, because your system remembers this and wants more of that positive experience. But you can also consciously take your mind to this place and decide, I want that, I do that. And I take this and use it to access something I desire to. achieve, or a place I desire to go, or a skill I want to learn. So you can always build on your past experiences. This goes sadly in a negative way as well as in a positive way. And I really, really felt the weight of the environment. So as I said, I started my complete artistic research on mind, body, expression and emotional entity of a human being. I started it with questioning identity and asking people as individuals, but the environment has such a huge impact. And I even experienced that different places have different energetic consequences for me. When I go to different places, it's almost like I pick up the energy of a place. When I'm in the city, I feel completely different than when I'm on the countryside. That can be from environmental factors, but I also do believe that we really feel each other. Like when you're living surrounded by people who are stressed, you will feel that. And then there are places in the world which are really high energy places, and you will go there and one day feels like a lifetime or something, which in another place doesn't feel so much. And then there is even, I think you can even connect this to your birth chart, and there are different energy places for each person depending on when you were born and where you were born. It's like you can very much go to detail with this. But in general, like as a general understanding of how your environment impacts your frequency, thoughts, even thoughts. Like we pick up on each other's thoughts even. You pick up on a person's fears when they are around you. When I sit here and I played a song the other day for my father with a lot of loving thoughts, the same afternoon he approached me and we had a very calm, super good conversation, very healing for both of us, which we didn't have for months before. I didn't play a song for him or about him before, and he didn't know I played the song. So we pick up on each other's thoughts, and we're like magnets to each other's thoughts. And this can be on a certain topic or a certain person. When you think about the person, this person thinks also about you. When you think about a certain topic, you will access this network of related topics. And a friend of mine has given me like Cloud Atlas, the book, and he was also experimenting a lot in his youth. But you access these networks. So you access networks of people as well as networks of thoughts and networks of objects and frequencies. And like there are so many connections. And you fire one emotions or one thoughts and it's, but we're all so connected and we do not even know that. I grew up not understanding any of this. That was the work of my past 5 years now, from before. I feel like for me it was, I did images through art. I accessed this already in my childhood, but I didn't understand my power of creating reality and manifesting. And sometimes I'm not sure if we are creating realities or if we are just accessing something that's gonna happen. If we are probably predicting. But if we are predicting, why don't I accept my power and consciously decide to do something that I understand as healthy, that I understand as supportive, that I understand as loving, frequency-wise, or when it comes to circumstances, that it brings people to these higher frequencies. because I've learned Reiki, energy work, and there is this concept about that you just let everything flow through, and it's the same with meditation. You just sit there and you accept everything that passes through. And for a long time I was living in this. But the thing is, also you have all these trauma and past, really even before your generation attachments, and all of that is coming through you in the stream of consciousness. When you sit and meditate, or when you just let things be, you are a collection of all of this, what your ancestors did and believed and said, and then you came together as this, and now you also have an impact with everything that you say and do and think and feel. This is how you change directions or continue directions. And if I can do this, why don't I just decide? Why don't I use my free will? And that is something very religious that I think we sometimes forgot to honor about religion. Because I know people always judge religion as, oh, religion differentiates between good and bad, and then it corrupts people because... And yesterday I've listened to a conversation about this, actually, that there are people who say this is not the righteous religious or the wrong religious, when you start to say this is good and this is bad, and you stop God's ways of, you interfere in God's ways because you say this is good and this is bad. But I do believe that if I approach someone or something or an idea or any entity with a frequency of love, I would not see in which way this would interfere in God's plan in a negative way. I do not see and that's also if you look at the 10 Commandments, wow, this is extreme, but I have to get this out of my mind because it's so much wisdom I've collected. If you look at the 10 Commandments, all of these things are also protecting us to get into lower frequencies. Not to murder someone is an extreme protection of getting into lowest frequencies of yourself and the other. Because as within, so without, you're killing someone, you are killing something and someone within you. When you murder any animal, it's a Buddhist concept probably, with karma and intention that you give out comes back, but it's not, I think. I see this, maybe because of my personal background, but I see this happening across all religions, that you should not kill or cause harm, basically. Give out malwil, because in giving this out, it returns back to you. And I have seen sometimes myself reacting in aggressive ways, and of course it reflected back on me. And that's not even magic. That's not even super spiritual religious magic, because I contract when I'm aggressive or angry. When I'm angry and I let it out, I contract. I start to put a lot of tension, and of course this harms me. When I put a lot of tension on my own body, and this is why people who meditate are often so healthy or overcome diseases, because you just release this. You don't put the tension out, and at the same time also on your own life and body, because when you're letting this in this moment already, you are harming yourself. So the most powerful people are really those that can turn everything into flow, openness, alignment, receiving, and ultimately giving from this receiving, because it doesn't feel like you're sacrificing something for something else. If you're giving from receiving, the giving is so natural that you don't even realize you're giving. Giving and receiving is the same then. But if you're suppressing some part in yourself, it can be something that you know you love doing, but you don't allow yourself to do. if it can be that you are doing something for, and that's where I think idols play a huge role, something for something else. So you do something to earn money, despite you might not like it. You should always do things that are aligned with you, because if you do something merely for the sake of earning money, but you accept sacrificing your own health, if you accept sacrificing your own alignment for this, you are harming not only the person who receives your service, you are harming yourself, and you are harming the product that comes from this, or the service. And all of them will have less of what it could be if you just gave you. If you gave all of you. And if you loved all of you. Because then it feels like a receiving, and you're giving effortlessly. And you have this flow. When you have a problem, it doesn't feel like a problem, but you immediately access a way to the solution. You approach things with curiosity rather than judgment. And it's really, really beautiful state of being. But it requires you to have an environment that's supportive. It requires you to have the tools to do what you set out to do. It requires you to have the mindset for it, of course, to have this ability to think in solutions. So not everybody might grow up in thinking in solutions, but I think it's something very, very human that we all can, to not see problems but solutions. Monkeys do it, so we can. Yes, we can. And if we cannot creatively access this, there's always the option to copy. So what I did when I was in, and I did this too, like a monkey, when I was in very, very low trauma response times, pain, physical pain or weakness or tired, and then I watched videos, but I didn't stop learning. At least I can copy. So when I was low and I was in my trauma response and I was in my narratives and really fighting for a long time, I didn't stop learning about how to create solutions. And if you cannot creatively access that, or you don't have people who are kind enough or see your struggle and can help you with that in your direct environment, you can at least watch others find the solutions. And you can watch people, and by watching we learn so much. We learn so much through copying. If monkeys can, you and me, we can do this too. And so I did this also. But now I'm so tired of this because I'm back to my flow and I'm just fucking tired of copying. It's really tiring. When you're back in your flow, and that's what I feel also many people have when you're in a workplace for a certain time and then people demand more and more and more. My mother always used to say, you give them one finger and they want the whole hand. Yes, of course I want the whole hand because I want to have my full experience. I would never reject someone my whole hand and give them only one finger, because every one of you deserves the whole hand. This sounds a bit strange now, but you know what I mean. If you're holding hands. And you deserve that. You really deserve that. Oh, my dog comes now and is very happy. This is abundance. This is many kisses from your dog. This is a happy dog. Yes, Sasa. Very happy dog. Okay, Sasa. Can I continue talking? I'm talking for an hour and a half already. It's like a lecture at university. And this is Imagine University. Okay. But yeah, so what I was saying is that once you have your basic needs covered, and that we go to Maslow's Bedürfnispyramide, and that also exists spiritually. So once you have all the basic needs covered, of course you want more, and that's great. And you can create more, and you can receive from just sitting around, you can receive solutions. You don't even have to consume and watch others, because when you have your basic needs covered, you can create everything. And spiritually, you can give all of that to yourself. Of course, as physical beings, we need certain physical needs met. And we do need, I never tried, but people live well who fast, and I've heard about people living from the sun. I never personally tried that, but I prefer to have good food. But it is really possible to be very far in the open with taking care of your mind, your emotions, your physicality, mind, emotions, physicality, and then of course your soul's calling. So what is the soul's calling? The soul is active in the extreme, very much. So the soul really is found in extreme situations often, I found. And this I found in my personal soul's escaping, when I really realized how much I actually like to direct myself or to work with. Later on, I was really more into film and even more into performative arts. I knew before, but I was a bit like doing these funny experiments. But then I started to understand it on such deep levels. And I really, I became very, very spiritual, understood all these energies that are working us, basically all this construct that I just explained. Okay, and I didn't go to the brain, how it's connected to religious belief, the subconscious, the unconscious, both individual unconscious and collective unconscious yet. But I feel it's been 1 hour and a half, and I feel that's another conversation. It's not even a conversation, it's a monologue, but I became very good at monologues. I try not to be a preacher, but I just find this so interesting, what I discovered, that I cannot keep it within. I cannot. It's so fascinating, this whole world that I found. And I love every part of this lessons that I learned from listening to many, many spiritual people, but also my own intuition and experiences in life. So let's keep it with how to reach alignment, flow, creativity, and openness. All of them a state of receiving and giving aligned. So everything feels like it comes to you, and still you're giving to people, and everyone will be like, oh, you're so amazing, how are you doing all of this? And it just feels effortless for you. By training your mind to love, and I'm not joking, every part of you, every part of your body, forgiveness, we didn't talk about this. Forgive yourself everything that you did, because guess what? God and the universe does too. And your body wants you healthy. And God wants you healthy no matter what you did. And your body wants you healthy no matter what you did. Everything in you seeks life. Everything in you seeks life. And it's this. Life is this alignment, receiving, giving, openness. You are a vessel not to be drunken from, but to constantly be filled and overflowing. And nobody else can pour into this. That's very, people can, of course, but it's not really the people that are, of course the people are pouring into this, but it's more your alignment. You're not depending on a certain job to have this vessel filled. You're not depending on one person to have this vessel filled. You're not depending on one belief to have this vessel filled. You're not depending on a language or a specific thought, on, a routine, a habit. Not at all. You can choose all of that, and it's all divine. And there is, and about religion, I'm not saying now, which is my personal preference, I think many know, but because you can choose, but also you are by heritage, and because your ancestors shape you, and every thought of them shaped you, and every belief and every practice and routine and all that they did and believed and practiced shaped you. But still you're always free to choose, always. And I feel this freedom is something that we practice in every spiritual practice, in every religion that's truly a religion, a spiritual practice, and not becomes a religion to justify violence. I'm not talking about this way of taking teachings and making of them something that causes lower vibrational harm, but really you can choose the direction of your thoughts. You can choose even your emotions. You can design them by repeating loving kindness meditations or metta meditation. You can access love without even having a lover. Of course, it's nice to have a lover, but I'm just saying you are so free that you can even access feeling in love without another person there. You can access changing your thoughts at any time. Of course, not with attachments. And then you really have to, Then for me, I found most helpful to look at thought, emotion, physical response, and my mindset, or how can I break this story apart? Visions, thoughts, visions, emotions, and physical response. How can I take this apart and shape it myself? And if successful, this construct is promising to create a reality aligned with your desires, create a reality aligned with your soul, a reality aligned with receiving effortlessly, aligned with a reality of higher vibration, aligned with a reality of giving, being very generous and easily practicing values like generosity, kindness, empathy, trust, faith, all of this, because when you vibrate in a higher state of being, it's so easy to give to others a more compassionate understanding, rather than when you are in a lower state of being and feel like your thoughts are in basically fight-flight responses. And it's not easy to be nice with others when you are in fight or flight responses. It's really hard to be, how if you are in a situation of a lot of stress, and then really master meditators or masterminds can react in stressful situations really calm. Like, those are very powerful people, because I'm saying we already, as if I had mastered this. I had so many trauma responses, trust me. But that even under a lot of stress, you can stay calm and just say, I don't know, I appreciate what is, I trust the process, I give what I can, I give others the benefit of the doubt, I have faith in and believe in what I want to achieve and in my value and others' value, and that we give to each other in a reciprocal nature. And I have the capacity to set my boundaries and protect also the space. And I have the capacity to give others what they demand of me and the space that they need. And then you can really create this flow, creativity, environment, and and openness of receiving in alignment with who you are, your soul's purpose, and also your identity, both the cultural identity in the outside world. You have many identities: your sexual identity, your cultural identity, your religious identity, linguistic, like so many aspects. A school of thoughts, philosophical, like all of this. But I always believe it's worth knowing yourself really well to be able to access this alignment, and always create it. And you can. So next talk will be the brain, the subconscious and the unconscious, individual and collective. I've done a performance on this some years ago, which was really fun. I hope to repeat it. And I'm also continuing to give Imagine classes, which are not as long as this lecture now. In my Imagine creative sessions, we do very short exercises to access your belief, create visions for your dreams, make statements, create baby steps for you to get there, and work with your mind and body. We do physical exercises. It's not hard. It's fun. Power poses and trying to work on your good vibes, good vibrations. As the Shapeless Motion, I publish music and also poetry books which are related to vibrations. And then, of course, words are super important. I'm still trying to figure that out and master this. But I will get there, and then I can teach you about this, if you want to listen. I actually don't like the word teaching, if we are with words. And I can share my insights about this with anybody who's interested. Okay, so I hope you like this. I will publish a book about the Imagine practice with all the exercises, so you can also do it yourself. The Imagine practice is online as videos in 4 classes. I offer meditations, body scan to get you to this magical present moment, which is always your godly, divine purpose alignment without you having to go anywhere in the future. The best. The present moment is the master of dissolving the pain body and aligning you. Never forget that. But there is a lot you can do to contribute to your future, the future of your family, how your environment evolves, and how you thrive and bloom in this life. Thank you for listening, and I'm very, very grateful I could share my wisdom here. Thank you.